Hey guys. Real quick, I didn't mean to cut you gentlemen off, but we're back with our next special guest, and right now he's done it all over in the UK as far as boxing is concerned, fighting, training, managing. Now he is currently one of the hottest promoters, one of the most active promoters in the UK, and it's definitely an honor to have him join us today. Coldwell Boxing's own Dave Coldwell. Dave, how you doing tonight, man?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. How are you?
We're doing great. Hey, I just want to give you a quick introduction. Everybody's on the line with us today. It's obviously myself, Frank Staya. We're being joined by Michael Doss, Mark Abrams, and the magnificent one, the big-time one, Tim Cudgett. He's here as well with us, and we're all pretty excited to have you here, talk some boxing. I mentioned in your introduction, you're one of the hottest promoters right now in the UK, and it's because, here in the States, the four of us that are on the line right now, we're big followers and enthusiasts of boxing in the UK, and what we've noticed in this past year, you've been an extremely active promoter, and the thing is you're not just throwing together fights that are, just to get your guys victories and stuff. You have a lot of talented guys that, are being in dog fights early in their career, and that's the one thing, the reputation that, Coldwell Boxing has gotten, especially here in the States, is a promotion putting on great fights.
Yeah, that means the world to me is the fact that, word's traveling across the pond already. Obviously, America's the place for boxing, you guys know what you're talking about. So to have been heard of out there, it's a bit of an honor for me. I just, number one, first and foremost, I'm just a massive boxing fan. I've been in the game for 22 years. I started off as a fighter. I wasn't the best boxer out there, but I learned, and the things that I learned as a fighter, I put into practice when I'm in the corners with my fighters. I know every single aspect that I need to speak to them with as a trainer. But as a promoter, this is where this year, we decided to push on with Coldwell Boxing and try and take it to the next level and break into the bigger leagues in British boxing. Myself and my business partner Spencer Fern, we've got a goal. We're both fans of the sport. We both see boxing as, as a promoter, I see it as though I'm in the entertainment business. I don't think a lot of promoters see it as that way. Yes, I want to build and create champions down the line, but I want to create fighters where the fans are interested in my fighters and the fans have got respect for my fighters, and hopefully we create champions at the same time. But you see a lot of champions out there where nobody really gives a damn about because they're not having exciting fights, they're not going out there to entertain, they're not having competitive fights. Now, if we can put on fights where, obviously, hopefully our guys win, but our guys are tested, even, from 6th round level, they're tested, they're in real fights, they're going to learn more about their ability and about themselves. And that's my main ethos about it. It's from a fan point of view as well as a boxing business point of view.
Dave, I'm right now, and I'm going by the, worldboxingnews.net. They give us a ton of updates on what's going on with you guys, as well as the other media outlets out there. But, on ColdwellBoxing.com, I check out the schedule you got. We're actually going to be speaking with your main event competitor for your upcoming Battle of Manchester on the 7th of December. Yeah. He's going to be on the show, Kieran Farrell. But you also have an event coming up, and as I mentioned again, you're being very active. You have an event coming up, I believe it's on the 30th of this month, the Next Generation, and, you got some talented guys coming up on there, and, you said like this, you have Nav Mansouri, who, I've seen a couple of his fights, via YouTube and on live stream, and, this kid goes out there, and I don't think he knows anything else but to go out there and scrap.
No, I don't know if you caught Eddie in a matchroom prize fighter from last night, but he was in two really exciting battles out there. He took on the biggest puncher in the tournament, which is Curtis Valentine, and he stood there and he had it with Curtis, and he's proved he's got a great chin, he's got a great work rate. The kid's exciting, but he's talented as well. I think BoxRec have him down at 26 years old, but he's only 23, I think just 23 in the last few weeks. So he's only a baby, you see, and he's having real fights, and he's a kid that I see by the time he's 25, he'll be British champion by the time he's 25. He's a good fighter. And like you say, this show on the 30th of November, it is basically, there's no big main headline event on this one. It's just a show I'm putting on for the young talent that I've got in the Yorkshire area in England. We've got an area of Sheffield, Rotherham, Doncaster, Chesterfield, and that's the prospects that we've got from that area, about 6 or 7 of them. It's just a little show just to showcase those guys. And I've got some exciting talent there in Nav Mansouri. Chad Gaynor is a welterweight kid who, he's got dynamite in his face. I know in the early days, you guys fight journeymen that are regular stayers and get through the distance, take your kids round. Well, this kid's been stopping guys that don't get stopped, and he's going to be having a step up in his fight on the 30th. Got a really talented kid called Maxie Hughes. He's on the bill as well. So, we've got some real good talent.
Dave, going into the prize fighter, and you know what, I didn't mention that Nav was in the prize fighter last night. I got to ask you like this. I love the concept. Tim Cudges and I were actually having a discussion. Craig McEwen, obviously, yesterday was the biggest name. He fought Larry E. in the opening round. Tim actually said to me that, for some fighters, prize fighter isn't necessarily the best option for them. You looked at the last heavyweight one where Kevin Johnson came over from the States, obviously the most, former world title challenger, probably the biggest name, the best talented guy, but you got, Al Fox because of the format. You had Nav, previously undefeated before that, going in there in these 3-round fights. I mean, what are your thoughts as far as the whole prize fighter concept and what Eddie Hearn has been putting together?
Well, for me, it doesn't prepare you for championship boxing. It doesn't prepare you for long durations. Obviously, it's a totally different schedule event. What it does do is it gives the fighters a massive exposure. It gives the public a chance to see a glimpse of what these guys are about, where they may not have seen them before. But also, what it does for prospects like Nav last night, it was the first time that all eyes were on him in an environment where you've got media talking about him in a build-up to a fight, and then you've got little promos going out on television over here, coming up to the fight, and then all of a sudden on the night, it's live on television. So it's a case where that is going to prepare him for when he does step up, and he does have a major title fight, where he's going to, all eyes are going to be on him and the spotlight's on him. He'll know how to handle that. Now, when it comes down to, a lot of people think, oh, well, he's got beat, he's lost his undefeated record. I'm his promoter. I don't care that he's got beaten, he's lost his undefeated record in a 3-round fight that was a great fight to watch. My perception is, if he got beat, not trying, in a stinker, and not even letting his hands go, then you've got a problem. But if you watch like in a 6, 8 round, 10-round fight, he'd have beaten Brothers. Not a problem. I 100% believe that. In fact, today I've made the rematch with Brothers to be in over 8 rounds. So I'm one of those guys that if my guy gets beat, I'll bring him back. If I believe in you and if you give 100% and you get beat in a proper fight, I'll bring you back. That's my job. I'm a promoter. It's no good. It's no good putting you in a test, putting in a real fight, or even putting yourself into prize fighter. You're getting beaten and say, oh, that's it. He's no good. I'll push him to the side. Otherwise, that's why kids aren't going to want to take real fights, because they're scared of losing their undefeated record. To me, I was a massive fan of Arturo Gatti, and I remember Gatti lost 3 fights on the bounce, but yet he was still getting the big paychecks from HBO because he was a fan favourite, because the fans knew, win or lose, when you pay your however many dollars it was to go and watch Arturo Gatti, you knew you were going to get value for money, and I'm a big believer in that with boxing fans.
Dave, real quick thought. Michael Dawson's going to jump in. But Dave, I like your train of thought. Dave, there's not, you're on here like with us. You're an ex-fighter. You've done everything else in boxing, but you speak the real. You're not doing the Don King, these guys, this, that. And I respect that 100% from you. And I say like this, man, next time I come to the UK, man, if we could sit down, watch a fight, or you bring out one of your guys here to the States in Vegas, we could watch a fight together, dude. I mean, I like your train of thought, and I'm enjoying everything you said. But let me introduce you to Michael Doss. I know Mark Abrams. He wants to jump in here real quick as soon as Doss is done. Doss, if he can, after that, real quick. Mark Abrams was last night. He was doing play-by-play for the Lucian Butte, Dennis Scratchev. He's the voice of West TV.
I'm gonna tell you what, Mark. I'm gonna let Mark jump ahead because I know he had a long flight. I know he's tired. Mark, if you got a question, go ahead, man. I'll size it up.
Just one quick statement, one quick question. It's good to know that your partner is actually a real good friend of mine, Spencer Fioran, who's if you want to talk a little bit about him. Actually, one question.
No, Spencer. Sorry. Can I just explain to you? It's not Spencer Fioran. Spencer Fioran's another promoter in England. My business partner is Spencer Fern.
Okay. Like they said, it was a long flight last night, so I misheard. Just quick. Talk about the state of boxing in the United Kingdom.
Well, to be honest, it's boxing. We went through a little bit of a lull. Things weren't going too great, but right now, exciting fights are happening. You're getting good fighters fighting the good fighters, and the fans are coming and they're flocking. Venues are getting packed out, be it on the smaller shows or on the bigger arenas that Eddie Hearn's putting on big shows. Frank Maloney's putting on big shows for David Price and packing out 8,000-9,000 fans. Frank Warren's putting on the big events as well. Boxing is in a healthy state. The only thing that is not healthy about it is the television situation, because Sky, unfortunately, because of their budgeting issue, they had to cut down on the boxing. They went more into quality rather than quantity, which meant they want the big arena shows, which for me, all right, it's great. We're getting some great big arena shows. The Carl Fletchers and people like that Eddie's putting on. It's great entertainment. Kell Brooks selling out big arenas. But for me, you need to have the new blood coming through, and you need the smaller shows that are going to be bringing it through, the next generation that are going to be on those big arenas. So we could do with a bit more variety. Hopefully, myself with Coa Boxing, hopefully we get a home on Channel 5, or we get some other TV channel out here, because Nick Hennessy's got Channel 5. He's doing well with that. And there's Box Nation TV that seems to be showing a lot of international fights. I think they're a great channel. They're doing really good things, but I think they could pick up quite a bit more of the smaller domestic shows as well, which would keep the subscribers much more happy than what they are. But it is a great channel. It's a channel that can do something in the sport if we do it right.
Can I jump in here real quick? What I like about it, Dave and Mark, to touch on that, as far as the UK scenes is going. How we have in the United States, we have our rivals, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. The fight still hasn't happened, but for how many years do we talk about it? Now in the UK, you have Hatton coming back. You have Kell Brook and Amir Khan throwing jabs at each other for a possible super fight. David Price and Tyson Fury, and these fights transcend internationally, and I mean that's good for guys like a Kieran Farrell and a Max Hughes, because they can get that exposure. You mentioned, these guys are fighting, and no disrespect, they're fighting some tune-ups. In the meantime, before these super fights in the UK, they're fighting some tough challenges, but nothing super fight worthy. And this gives an opportunity for the younger fighters to be inserted into the undercard. Imagine how big, you had somebody you worked with really close this year, fight in a UK mega fight, actually that transcended worldwide, was David Hay. He fought Derek Chisora. And that's what I like about the boxing in general. UK, United States, they're putting together some real good super fights. I think this is one of the best years in a while. And it just, the outlook for 2013 looks spectacular. And I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with that, but I think it is. The biggest fighters there, they pack the arenas. You said 9,000-10,000, but you put together Amir Khan and Kell Brook, David Hay, maybe David Price.
A lot more, yeah.
You're putting possibly 30,000 in a football stadium.
Yeah, I think the game needs rivalries. As promoters, I don't feel where I'm not worried about other promoters having big names and this. For me, if all the promoters had big names and they were willing to work with each other, we could make this sport a monster sport again, because it's no good one promoter just having a couple of big names and to heard of in the game, because you're not going to have any rivalries and you're not going to get the general public. Like you said, it's not going to transcend into the general public where people are going to be interested in who this guy's fighting. Remember, for years, Roy Jones didn't have a super fight as such. A lot of fighters have got massive talent, but they don't get another rival in their weight category, that gets the general public talking about it. Joe Calzaghe for years was champion, but it wasn't all right. Lacey was a big fight over here, but Lacey was pretty much unproven at that point. But I don't think it was until he fought Kessler where it was a massive fight that transcended the public. And all of a sudden, when he fought Kessler, it was a huge crowd. I mean, a huge crowd that that he fought in front of at the Millennium Stadium. And I think no matter how good a talent is, how good a champion is, he needs to get not just the boxing fans talking about the game. And boxing can be a huge, huge sport that transcends and get your grandma talking about it, your granddad talking about it, your next door neighbour that doesn't really bother about boxing. You can be talking about it if the right fights are out there and if the right personality is out there.
But for that, personality. That's one thing. It's personality.
Yeah, personality, definitely.
That's why
I think different promoters need to have these guys.
That's why Andre Ward don't have a dance partner and can't make mega fights.
Exactly, yeah.
Because and he's a damn good fighter, but he doesn't have the personality. He doesn't have the public appeal. Yeah. And Roy Jones kind of he had that in a way too. I mean, he had more personality, but he was so good, he didn't really have anybody to make a super fight with, in my opinion.
Exactly.
But I wanted to basically applaud you because you got some. Like Frank mentioned, you have some good fights going on. You're a very competitive promoter, and we need more promoters like you to match good fights. I mean, you got Kieran, your fighter coming up. I think he's 13-14-0. I think the biggest win was against a 7-0 fighter. I mean, he's fighting Corolla. Corolla was mentioned to be fighting Eric Morales a while back. He was up for a title shot a while back. That's a very competitive match, and I just want to commend you on that. Let me ask you this real quick.
Thank you.
The heavyweight. In England, the heavyweights are it. Just like here in the States, we're thriving for a big heavyweight to really take control and do some things. I've done some research, but how many do you work with? Many heavyweights right now, or are you just basically kind of focusing on the lower weight class, and why?
At the moment, if being honest, there's not many. It's pretty much like it is out in the States, where there's not many heavyweights that are coming through that are ready to step up. I mean, obviously you've got David Price. David Price and Tyson Fury are the two main heavyweights that we've got out here. I've worked with David Price when we signed him for Haymaker. I've spent some time training him out in Cyprus when we had the training camps. And I'm a good friend of David Price. David Price is improving at a very good rate. He's so talented, and he's getting the right sparring, and he's ready, to step up and make a big splash in 2013. I really do believe that. I think Tyson Fury gets a bad rap because, without being disrespectful to his promoter, I think his promoter pushes him along and gives him a little bit too much hype than what he warrants. He's only a young kid. He's a kid that's improving, but he's a young kid. And for me, I think if you just went about the business, building him up and getting the right fights for him, he's a kid that in the future could be a heavyweight champion. But I just think that they're talking a bit too much.
David Hayes in there too in the heavyweights. I mean, I still consider him.
Yeah, well, he is. Yeah, but he's from what he's saying, he will only fight again if he fights Vitaly Klitschko. So whether he fights again, I just don't know, because I can't see Vitaly risking his legacy when he's creaking like he is, he's ready to go. I can't see him risking his legacy by giving David Haye a possibility of beating him. And for me, I think for Klitschko, either one of them to lose to David Haye, that would be it'd be terrible for him. I think that'd wipe out everything about him, because there's that much that's gone off between the two camps. I don't think they can risk that, and they're not stupid. They know that Vitaly's coming to the end, and they know that he's creaking his performances. He is an old man. His body's breaking down, and he's ready to go. And I don't think they'd want to risk it with David Haye. So for me, like Davey's saying that he's not really going to interested in fighting again unless it's until a fight with Klitschko's made. I kind of count him as basically retired. One heavyweight that I do keep an eye out in America is Deontay. When we had him over sparring over in London, I worked with him for about 3 weeks, and I like the guy. He's a really nice guy. I think for the short amount of time that he's actually been boxing, he's achieved so much. And he's a guy, he needs work, but he's another one, he needs stepping up, he needs having a real fight. His record's phenomenal, but it's also phenomenal for how poor he's a player.
I bet it really eats you being a promoter that promotes, such competitive fights, to meet a guy like Deontay Wilder that has 28 fights, and I think his last fight, he fought a guy that was undefeated, but he hasn't fought in 6 years, and he was a middleweight. I mean, I think that just really gets to you.
It is, because it's hard to find.
Let me ask you another question real quick. You were mentioning the other promoters, how they, just like here in the States, we got Golden Boy, we got, Don King, we got Bob Arum. Don King kind of works with other promoters sometimes. Golden Boy and Top Rank. To me, it's a shame that you got, two fighters at top in their division, and we always got to just say, well, if they would ever fight, if they fought, this is what happened. We can't see that fight because once you mention Top Rank and Golden Boy in the same sentence, it automatically gets dismissed because it ain't going to happen. And you kind of have the same situation there with Frank Warren, with Eddie Hearn, with Maloney, and if we would just if Tyson Fury and David Price fought on the same card, it'd be phenomenal. I mean, you would probably sell out a stadium. What do you think?
Yeah,
how do you think we could actually do that? How do you think that you can get along with these promoters? Do you ever see, the promoters in the States working together? Do you ever see the promoters in England working together? And if so, how would that happen?
Well, you see, I can't really say much about the States, to be honest, but I know over here, even though we've got big rivalries and we've got promoters that don't necessarily get on with each other, if you look at Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, they have come together to make the Gavin Rees-John Murray fight, which over here is a big fight. Mm-hmm. So they've put aside the differences and they've made the fight. Fights are getting made because of the state of the game right now. I think everybody's getting on the page where these fights need to happen, and if terms can be met, then why not? So it's like even at my level, I've worked with Eddie Hearn. I've worked now to make this fight with Farrell and Crawler. Is Hatton Promotions. That was one of the simplest fights to make. I picked up a phone to Richard Poxon of Hatton Promotions, the director of boxing there, asked him if he'd be interested in doing the fight. He spoke to Crawler, took a few days to come back, and the fight was done, and that was it. And I think if promoters can work together, despite any differences, like Eddie and Frank have put the differences together to make the Rees-Murray fight, this is a good step for the game, and it's the only way the game can move forward. If we all have as egos and we all, put stumbling blocks in that aren't necessary, then the game dies. Simple as that, There was a time a while ago when everyone was talking about UFC and because they were having real fights, and boxing was in a bit of a trouble. Whether people want to admit it or not, people were getting fed up with boxing and starting to switch over to UFC. In my opinion, from what I'm hearing now, UFC MMA is going quiet compared to boxing because we are now starting to have the good fights putting on, and that's what needs to continue. We can't go back to the days where the fights don't happen. And I think sooner or later in America, your Golden Boys and your Top Ranks have got to work together because they're robbing the fans of great fights if they don't. And then sooner or later, these fans are going to start switching off. You know, in order to keep the TV networks interested, which is basically what the lifeblood of the sport is, you know, you've got to put on great fights. And if that means making a fight with a guy that you don't like, so be it. You know, if you think that your man's the top man, then why not do it?
Dave, let me hop in here. I got to ask you this too. I want to go to your December 7th card at the Bowlers Exhibition Center. You know, big main event. You know, you have going on there. I mean, it has us. You know, the four of us here on here talking about this fight. You know, it was as soon as I heard it announced. You know, I'm definitely intrigued with Kieran Farrell and his progress as a prospect. He's going in there with Anthony Crolla. I got to ask you like this. You have Derry Matthews on the undercard, as I think it's the co-feature. Is this, you know, a winner of this fight? Especially, you know, I know I'm pretty sure, you know, Kieran Farrell, you're banking your money to pick up an impressive victory over him. Is there a future if Farrell wins this fight for him and Derry Matthews to lock horns somewhere down the line?
Yeah, of course, definitely. You know, Derry's a warrior. Again, he's another one that back in the day I signed for Haymaker, Derry Matthews. He's a guy that will fight anybody. You know, he's been written off more times than anybody. You know, many a time people said, "Oh, that's him finished," and he's come back. You know, he's a kid that's been around for years, and he's chomping at the bit. He would love a crack at the winner. He's already told me that. So that's a possibility. But also there's a possibility, you know, I'm looking at working on something for Derry in February that may or may not come off, and so we could take him on a different angle, you know, and then make this fight, you know, a bit further down the line. There's other options out here, you know. The lightweight division is pretty much stacked. You know, you've got a kid called Tommy Coyle who's making a lot of noises over here, but he's a good prospect over here. You know, he's a fighter that I would love for Kieran Farrell to fight, maybe even Derry to fight. But the thing about Kieran is without a doubt, he's going to this fight as an underdog. So I can't make any plans for Kieran for after this fight because he's got a massive job. It's not a case of where I'm underestimating Crolla. I'm not, no, at all. It's a fight that, you know, Kieran wants letting off the leash. He's 14-0. He's had 14 fights, you know. In olden days, maybe, you know, you get to 20 fights before you have a test. Them days are gone. You know, he's just fought a kid that was 7-0 to win his first junior title, which is Central Area title over here. That was a great performance. He stopped him in 5. He had a good workout in his last fight. But he needs a big test. We need to see, can this kid fight? Is he for real? Let's see what he can do. Now, in Crolla, if Crolla he's lost 2 out of his last 3, that doesn't mean that he's shot. It doesn't mean that he's finished. It doesn't mean he's on the slide. What it does mean is that he's just outside the elite at domestic level because he lost 2 out of his last 3. You can't say he is elite at domestic level because he's lost 2 out of his last 3 at domestic level. So if you've got a kid at 14-0, can't go in with a guy that's lost 2 out of 3 at domestic level, then you've got a problem. I'm not saying he should beat Crolla. I'm saying he should be going into that fight with every chance of beating him. It should be a 50-50 fight. And if he beats him, that's what I hope him to do, and that's what I half expect him to do. I see it as a 55-45. You know, and I do expect Kieran to win it. So it's a very, very hard fight. I just think that at this time now, I think Kieran's got it at the right time. Kieran's ready for that step up. And if he gets beat, so what? You know, I'm a promoter. I'll bring him back. But now he's got people out there, you know, out in America talking about him in this fight. He's got everybody all over. Wherever I've been going since I've made this fight, the fans, the people in the industry, all been coming up to me. What a great fight that is. What a great fight that is. Everybody. You know, so people now know who Kieran Farrell is, and they will know who he is on December 7th. So should the worst thing happen and he gets beat, so what? I'll bring him back. You know, that's my job. I'm his promoter. You know, but if he beats Anthony Crolla, there you go.
He gets the Lonsdale title, and you know that's a big deal. We don't have you know the only thing that matters over here are world titles. You know, it's maybe a BAM title. You know, you guys don't know about the BAM title yet. We'll get you more. You come on the show, Dave. We'll get you familiarized with the BAM title. It's an inside joke. But you guys got the Lonsdale title, and you know, it's a beautiful belt. I love the lineage, and, you know, I wish we had something because it would make our fighters here more appreciated than, you know, a lot of the national titles. There's the NABA, NABF. But, you know, this kid's got, you know, Kieran's got an opportunity to, you know, go down in history, and, you know, some of the greatest fighters, you know, of all time coming out of the UK, you know, made a career out of, you know, winning the English titles and stuff like that. So, yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it. Dave, I gotta tell you like this. I want to have everybody, you know, if they're not familiar with you yet, to follow you on Twitter. I know you're very active with a lot of the fighters on Twitter. You're at David Coldwell on Twitter. I'm following you there now, and, you know, definitely interested in tweets. I see you interacting with guys like David Price and all that stuff. So, you know, let them know you're on Twitter. You know, just like I do. You know, keep up with your upcoming events. It's where, you know, the second I seen it on ColdwellBoxing.com, Kieran Farrell and Anthony Crolla, you know, I went ahead, give a shout out to my friend Andrew Millwall out there. You know, he actually linked us up for this.
Andrew's a great guy. He is.
He's a good friend. He's actually a good friend. Him and I have known each other for many years, and, you know, definitely any help that, you know, he helps him way more than he helps us way more than we help him. But he's such a great guy, and, you know, I know he's battling cancer right now, and, you know, I know you're there. You support him. You know, you supporting a good friend of mine, like Andrew. You know, I definitely commend you for that, for the great work.
Yeah, we got a fundraiser. If I can just touch on that, we got a fundraiser. They've got a fundraiser on December 4th for him down in Birmingham at John Pegg's gym. Everybody, but that's anybody in British boxing is turning up to that. So, you know, it's a great opportunity for the fans to come down and meet the boxing heroes, really. You know, so it'd be nice if we can get a good turnout for him. It'll be a good fun day. That's on December 4th. You know, we'd like to try and raise a bit of money for Andrew and his family.
And that's what, you know, that's definitely, he's a fighter. I mean, if anything, he deserves to be the pound for pound number one fighter right now. They gave him, you know, his odds were stacked against him earlier this year, and he proved everybody wrong. So, you know, Andrew, he actually comes on the show a lot with us, and we were unable to, you know, get him to join us, but the Worldwide Weekly Boxing Predictions League, Andrew Millwall, our good friend. Dave, we're looking forward to it, man. Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes when we've been talking to a lot of the fighters and managers and well, no, just mainly the fighters. You're the first promoter from the UK we had on the show, but we talked to a lot of the best big names that are out there, and we don't know what to expect. You know, there's a lot of, you know, sometimes the guys are nervous about coming on US radio, and we're kind of nervous about because you don't know what to say. Man, I had a friggin' blast with you, Dave. I'll be honest with you.
Thanks, man.
Unexpected. I had a blast. And I'm going to tell you like this, man, we'd love to have you back on the show. You know,
anytime, man, anytime.
Talk some more stuff, man. Maybe we interact with some other guys, but definitely appreciate your time today. I know it's a Sunday. It's getting a little bit late there. And, you know, we wish you all the best. We're going to stay in touch with you on the social networking scene, man. We're going to keep, you know, pumping out the information on your show as everything gets near. And we appreciate your time today, Dave. We appreciate you joining us. At David Coldwell.
No, thanks very much. Thanks very much for having me. I really appreciate coming on.
Thanks, Dave. God bless you, my man.
Thanks, Dave.
Cheers. Take care. See you later.
Cheers, buddy. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you. All right, so Tim, you were generally quiet. I think, you know, I jumped in there with all, but yeah, man, Dave was awesome. Tim and Doss, I got to ask you this. You know, Craig McEwen, we're familiar with him in the United States. Let's talk about the prize fighter this past weekend. Tim, did you get an opportunity to catch it? And what were your thoughts? You know, you got this Larry E. guy who came in at 2-0 and won the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but it's limited. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tim.
Prize fighter's one of those situations that it's tough for guys like McEwen, Kevin Johnson, guys that have been around fighting 10, 12 rounders to come in and win because it's more pace to the early in the career level where they can go hard for 4 rounds and that be it. Now, these fights are only 3 rounds, so you can't take off a round, you can't get warmed up, you can't get ready for a long fight like some of these guys like McEwen do, and it's tough.
Well, Tim, what it is, you know, it's all the fighter as well, and it's all on the fighter. I mean, Craig McEwen's a guy it doesn't really start fast anyway. I mean, he kind of builds up momentum as he goes. You know, they're putting the wrong caliber fighters in these 3 fights. You know, these 3-round fights. You know, if I'm a manager, if I got a guy that went the distance 18 times out of 24, 25 fights, I'm not going to put him in a 3-round fight at all against a guy that's 2-0. That's